on season 2 of the Deadly Uncle podcast, and we have been having a wonderful time in our new studio space. We want to say a special thank you to all the people that made this happen, and I'm going to let Trent do that.
We want to thank the Canada Council for the Arts. They've graciously, funded this podcast for us. They found value in the subject matter that we're doing, and we appreciate that. We want to thank everybody that provided support letters and everybody that watched the podcast last season, tuned in, and gave us a chance to help tell these stories of Indigenous men's wellness, because it's an important topic that, is kind of near and dear to me and Kurt, because we both lost, family members to different struggles, and it's important to talk about these things. So welcome to the Deadly Uncle podcast, and it's a safe place for Deadly Uncle conversations.
Yes, that's for sure. And, I want to send a special shout out to all of our past guests that had come on for season 1, all of the guests that have come on to show up for season 2, and then all of the Deadly Uncles out there that haven't been on the show. Keep up that wonderful work. I think it's important for us to set an example for our communities by being men that have, are vulnerable, that are open. Yes. So today we have Mr. Theron Black as our guest. And, I've known Theron for quite a few years. As he said, boy, you used to be in my community, married, that you were captured up here, he said, for a while there. But I got to know him through doing community events. And, he's somebody who's a dancer and, many, many more things. He's going to school. He's, providing for his family, his community. He works with his wife, and he's taught dancing to his son, grass dance as well. And I'm a grass dancer as well. And I remember when I first, because I was brand new, Theron literally saw me the first time I ever danced. And I remember I was so nervous because I looked around the dance floor, and it was full of lifetime dancers such as Theron. So I was like, man, and he said, you know what, just do your best and have a good time. And he's like, here, let me help you straighten out your roach. And he helped me straighten it up. And, so I was really thankful to him. And so just introduce yourself and where you're originally from there.
Okay, going to go to be go to Canada. Yes, and I'm honored to be here. My name is Theron Black. I've recently moved back about 18 years ago, back to my community. I lived in the cities for most of my life, my younger life, and I can understand all the issues that we go through, addictions, and our mental health at that time. I'm so grateful for you guys to actually have this podcast and stuff. To have that where we can be able to listen to other people who kind of went through the struggles of what we all go through. All the traumas. Like every one of us comes through trauma. Some form of trauma, and it's the ones who are being successful in the community. And I like how your podcast shows this, and what they've been doing in the community. And I thank you for that, because a lot of times too is that we need to hear it from our own people, where they need help, and anybody can do it. Like I've been lost in addictions for 22 years. Like I'm 51, been sober for like 18 years, drugs and alcohol. But I drank for 22 years, and and like in a party mode right through, losing a lot of friends, and came to a point in my life where, I just had a fake life, a super fake life, and everything that I had fake friends. I had everybody that was that in that addictions, and it really showed who are the people in our family that really cared for us and stuff, and to see that and appreciate them, that they were always there. And a lot of times too, as I always say, that even our spirit, our people who passed on before us, they were always they were protecting me when I was drinking, and there was having my own places, and things would happen that were kind of unexplained in the Western world. But you know what? And people can misinterpret that and say, you know what, we're getting spooked or something. But in actuality, it's all our grandmothers who passed on before us, looking after us and saying, you know what, we're here looking after you. We're here, even though you're lost in addictions. We're here watching you, and and to find our way back to our communities and our culture and our elders and our ceremonies. So these are the different things that I like to talk about. So those kind of different things that are happening out there. A lot of things are spiritual wakings. But the thing was too is that self awareness was very important for our recovery and stuff. The narcissism and the ego that we have. Even though I was sober for like a year and I was going to ceremonies regularly every weekend, going all over like Alberta and Montana, and just we kept going like that, just because I didn't go through AA. We don't. It's really for our people. That's a really like 8%. I recently seen a stat, it was 8% that are is successful to go through AA. And so these things are not happening with the Western world, but our ways of going. And so when I went through that way and that struggles of that, I found ceremony, and being a part of those ceremonies and looking at my narcissism and ego and the self discovery that I learned, that we have to be careful what we talk about, because us natives, it comes back to us, and that's just what it is. So a lot of times too, even though I was sober for a year, I still had this addictive personality and traits and stuff. And when I was doing ceremonies and stuff, it was like, you know, um, like I'll share this experience. I was getting like my wife was getting pierced, and she was doing her fourth year in Montana, and then she was doing her final year at the Sundance. And so what I did, I told her, I still had that addictive personality, and then they were telling her, "You're gonna get pierced or stuff like that." And me, coming from that kind of that image from when I was lost in addiction, is that, "Oh yeah, no, Cindy, you should do it, because if you do it, well, I would do it, because that's go all out or nothing, hey." And then me being like sarcastic and trying to be that tough guy image, and I said, if they told me to do it, I would do it, and like to get pierced and all this stuff. So making life long, short, and stuff like that. My elders were telling me, "Theron, be careful what you say all the time. You always be careful what you say, especially around ceremonies." And so one of the things too is that when I went through that and we went over there, and I never met any of the people down there at that time. We were sweating up here, doing our ceremonies up here. Then we'll go to Montana and do the Sundance out there. And then so when we went down there, first thing I kept teasing. Well, in a way, I was telling for Cindy to go through that process, and because it was her final year. So, anyways, I went there and I was walking with some of my elders and my ceremony brothers and one of my uncles and that, and we're walking there. First thing that comes around the corner is one guy. His name is Joe Kip from down south, and he looked at me straight away, and I never met that guy or nothing. He goes, "Oh, you're gonna get pierced today?" And me, I was like, "Oh yeah, all right," like just like acting like all this solid and all this stuff, and then so yeah, so what? Fast forward, I had to get pierced that day. Oh my God, I was tortured and everything. And well, not torture, but it was something that I was unaware of how powerful those kind of things were, and what the whole process was. It was such a blessing to me, and in so many ways that that it made me look at how I talk and how these things are happening. So so yeah, and then every time after that, I was getting pierced all the time, like every other Sundance. I said, "No, I'm going there. I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna just Sundance, and that's it." And I get pierced, and somehow I'm always being like I have to get pierced all the time. I was
After
like,
you
"Okay,
said it, they
yeah, I know."
be careful what you wish for. They say,
Oh
eh?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
those
so
are
just for our listeners,
yeah.
when you talk about piercing, can you just explain what that means for some people might not know what you're talking about.
One thing is that like like we come from our territory, the Blackfoot, the Kainai. It's the Horn Sundance, and then we have the Piercing Sundance. So the Piercing Sundance is also one of the ones that are, it's kind of like where they piercing and that, and they do a lot of doctoring. And so, but when I do presentations, I mostly talk about the horns and our ways of life, because that's who we were. But the other ones is kind of like more like healing and doctoring and stuff like that. So that is something that is it was from John Daywriter from down south Montana. That is my elder, and who was always my elder, my late Johnny Daywriter. And so yeah, and it was one of the things too. Is he's been pivotal in my road to recovery. So yeah, I was just blessed with that. And so those are the different things. Is when you start going through the process of that, then you're going to sacrifice, a piercing and stuff that you're going to do. You'll get tied to a tree, dowels, and they'll cut you and on your chest. And the women, they'll cut them on the shoulders. And yeah, and we're just basically doing that for people in our community, our people who are sick and who don't have a good chance, who need a little bit more, who are pretty sick and may not live too long or something like that, but we'll do that for them, and those kind of sacrifices. So those are the things that we always like to kind of but I think that some of these things that are ceremony is good to share because
Yeah.
it's something out there that we need to hear. Like people out there who don't know anything about the ceremonies is that there's like say in Calgary or we'll just say Calgary, but there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of different ceremonies within that city. In Moginsis, that's another our Blackfoot word for saying Calgary. So when we go there, and there's like a lot of different people doing ceremonies out there, and one of the things too is that our people need to start looking for those and finding it on their own and stuff like that. One thing I've learned through the ceremonies is that we need to help ourselves. There's a lot of times, prayers and all these ceremonies and that can only help you so much. But if you're not going to help yourself, then and that's the main thing is that some of the things they'll help you and they'll get better, but then you need to keep following through and helping yourself through these things. So yeah, and then my ego and narcissism came out of that. We got to be careful what we say and what we talk about and stuff. So yeah, and it was like quite a wicked experience in a good way, but it was funny. But when we talk about it, but it was like it was awesome, like things that had happened in that time. So
What I want to say first is congratulations on your sobriety. It's not hard to it's hard to maintain that and to make those choices to make that better life for you. What I want to know though is like I'm sure a lot of people that have been in addiction, it doesn't necessarily come down to one point, but when did you make that conscious decision that you were making the wrong choices and it was time to find a better way, like time to find the better path?
So there was a number of different issues that had come up. So it came to a point where I kind of had I kind of realized everything I lived for was fake, and that image that I was trying to portray in with my communities, and that tough guy attitude and stuff like that, and like getting into fights, all these different things that were happening. So, and it came to a point where it's like all my friends were dying, or they were going to jail, either killing or been killed or stuff like that, and it was pretty eye-opening experience. The people that we hung around with and everything like that, but it was just that point in my life where I just finally said, you know what, I'm tired of looking over my back. I'm tired of always living that thing and being that. And in actuality, you know what, and a lot of times too is that I was seen as not somebody who was scared, but a lot of times my whole life in those situations I was scared, and that's why I drank and did all these other things, to be vulnerable and to understand, yeah, I'm weak right now. I can't do these, and there's some things that we need to really see that and say, you know what, have a look at myself and see what I have to do, and and I lost my kids, when they were young. I had kids, relationships. I was bouncing from relationship to relationship, and my kids were one of the things that was most important also too. And then some of the people who were my bros that were right beside me, and losing some of them made me change also too. The deaths that was just there, and it was just something that took a toll on me. I was just like, finally one day I just walked away from it. Things came down, a spiritual awakening in the way of sense. It was in the sense, and I do see the sun, kind of cleansing me and stuff like that, even though I was doing hardcore drugs. But all I knew after that is that everything was going to be okay, even though I had lost everything at that time. I didn't have I lost my house, I lost my my kids. All these different things that came in. But you know what? All I had was the clothes on my back, and then the only person I had in my life was my mom at the time, who stood beside me no matter what was going on. But I kind of got her sick because she was fell into. She had a heart attack, even though she didn't do drugs. She's been sober for us guys, and she changed her way when she was younger, going through the residential schools. So she changed her way, and then for us and stuff. And then I finally realized this whole thing, and I just finally grew up in a sense. So when I quit, I just knew that the sun and stuff, that the sun was coming down on me, and I was doing some hardcore drugs, and the sun was right there, and it was such a hot day. It was super early in the morning, and I can just see these vapors coming from my body, and it was just a way of that. The sun was just finally realized was always there, and it just kind of like took my toxics, all the drugs out of my body, and I walked out of there. I didn't have no like sickness. I didn't have no nothing. I just knew everything was going to be better, and then I just kind of went back to my mom's house, the only place where I could have went, and then after that, it's just what I've been doing now.
Wow.
And those things are, yeah. So
That's amazing. And so,
yeah.
what would your advice be to somebody that's going through addictions right now, like one of our young brothers that's out there, like the many brothers and sisters that are going through addictions? What is your advice to them to changing their life? Because you not only got sober, but you're a graduate now. You went back
Oh
to
yeah,
school.
yeah.
You've taken it even above and beyond, becoming sober and living a good family man. So what would your advice be to those ones that are lost right now?
So one of the things too is my advice is that we really need to look at ourselves and be self-aware. Sometimes we go through life and we're miserable, like something that gets us mad. We're like it's the self-awareness and our ego and our narcissism that is more important to find out and to see that. To really see, what pisses you off, what gets you all mad and all these stuff, and why is that pissing you off and stuff like that, because sometimes it's just your own thoughts that are doing that, and hindering our way to learn and heal, to understand that this is not life. Our life is here. Our necessities, our native people are here to live in peace and harmony and come from a loving state of being. That's who we are. We're helping. We're always be helping our people in the community. We're doing these different things. We're just appreciate to be around people and to have those relationships. And those are the things that are. But then with those egos and narcissism, the anger, the jealousy that all comes in, that's all Western way. It was learned through the Western ways and stuff like that also too. So even though I have a learning disability and a reading disability and stuff, and so and that didn't stop me because I had ceremonies and I had elders, and I knew my history and all these different things, and I knew the processes of my addictions, and that I graduated with the University of Lethbridge. I went as a mature student on probation until for the first little bit until I was able to. They'll automatically give you a probation. So I got in there and I got it in there and I finished with a 3.85 GPA.
Ooh,
Addictions
deadly.
to health, yeah, addictions and mental health, with the city of Lethbridge, with the University of Lethbridge. My second degree was Indigenous Bachelor of Social Work, from the late Betty Bastien, and she was pivotal in my learning also too. That social work degree is recognized throughout all of Canada, and a lot of times too. So I'm blessed to have that credential on my schooling. And then we just graduated like a month and a half ago, I think it was, at the University of Calgary with a Masters of Education. And then
Wow. Congratulations, man.
we're just taking a break right now, and then we're gonna go back and pursue our PhD. And so, but these are the things that are. Anybody can do it, and if anybody knew me from before, they would know. Like a lot of them, like are surprised to see me who I am now, and it's like from where I was, um, of being lost in that world of violence and addictions, and the bar scenes, all these different things, those different things, and yeah, and I just like grew out of it and said, that's enough. I grew up in a way. I matured, even though it took me so long to do it, but then I finally just matured, um, and started seeing this light and a better thing that I have for my kids and my community. And everything's taken a long time. A lot of times too is that we need to understand that to fix broken relationships, it's not going to just like the day you sober up and everything's going to go good for you. It's going to take a long process, many years down the road and stuff like that. And so that's what I'm grateful for. That I'm having my kids back around again who come regularly now, coming back to my house and their house. This is their land, this is their house and stuff. So to be here with us and to start experiencing that. My grandkids, man, I have like 9 kids. I lost one kid. Uh, I lost one of my kids. My Jeremy had passed away, and so just over a year ago. But I had ceremonies and I have all these, and I have my family and to grieve that, and we're still in a way still grieving. Well, you're never going to stop grieving, but it's just something that is um, it's just a norm now. Even like like even though we with death, a lot of them, some of them did pass away from alcohol and drugs, but our aunties and our uncles we've been like having those kind of different struggles and stuff like that. But it's something that is what we have to work with and part of life. But the one thing I changed and thinking, it took me a long time to realize this because I wasn't grieving for so long for my dad who passed on, is that they're not with us personally, but they are in our prayers. So when I pray and ask him to help us and guide us and protect our family and our valleys and our communities and so they're always in my prayers, like the people who pass on before us and stuff. And that's one of the things is that I'm grateful, and that's what our culture gives us. And then and if we visit our people, like my aunties, my uncles, when I'm lonesome for my dad or my aunties or something, I just go to them, and then I see them in them, and I can see my relations who pass on within them, and that makes me feel pretty good too. So yeah. So, but those are the little things that we've been doing.
Theron, you,
Yeah.
you, you
So.
talked about the work that you've done, and you've went back to school, and you're going to be pursuing your PhD. So what am I trying to say here? Okay, all our communities have been going through an epidemic in the last few years. The opioid epidemic has hit
Mhm.
a lot of indigenous communities in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, every one of across the country. Now, you talk about being able to give back to your community. In your opinion, how can we help fight this opioid epidemic in our communities that's taking so many of our brothers and sisters?
Well, one of the things too is I know, like doing addictions counseling and learning the book form. I was into not opiates when I was in my addictions. When I lost, and I was into cocaine and alcohol, the alcohol and those different things. So, and like for me, even though I was offered some positions where I was going to be an opiate counselor or something like that, but I kind of didn't feel right because I can process those other addictions and my own self-awareness and stuff like that. But one of the
Yeah.
things too is that opiate addictions is something that is way. It's something that it's just so powerful, that drug, that it's just something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around also too.
Yeah.
And trying to get that. But right now, like, I started my Honor and Traditions and Reconciliation Society. So we got a $185,000 grant to run 6 programs over 2 years. So we just finished our first year. With the AHS, we collaborated with them, and Heidi Davis has been doing an awesome job in that. So we've been working with the people who are lost with opiates and doing these different things in their community, bringing them out to like harvest medicines, to go out there and just to do these different things with them and bringing it back to our people. And hopefully we can be able to start getting those conversations. But one thing too is I've always adamant about people who have lived experiences more important than the book sense. And the same thing is that, even though I have those letters behind my name, I'm never ever going to go through the Western perspective and helping our people, because to this day it has not been helping our people at all. And so I've always going to go back to our ways of knowing, talking about our culture, introducing them to our elders and all these different our elders, and in the communities, and start bringing them back into these different programs that are happening in our community right now. And it's something that is, we can't just fix, like it's not an easy thing that we can fix. It's going to be a struggle. We need to get them to understand, it's a death sentence when you start getting into that. Even a first try, a lot of times too, it's not just our people with trauma and all the things that they addictions, like with our depression, anxiety, all these different things brought on through residential school and passed down from a our parents and our grandparents, is that we need to start looking at these things and seeing that we got hit. Like, I'm the first generation of the residential school that didn't go to residential school, and we need to start kind of getting our people who were in addictions, I mean opiate addictions especially, and let's start talking and having conversations with them and say, what, like, how was it for you, and how were you able to get out of those things? And those are things that we need to see. And there's the doctors who are prescribing these things. We need to make sure the prescriptions that are being written, there's money when you doctor writes a prescription for that, and there's money and stuff like that. So it's a those are the things that are happen. And it's a sad thing, and especially when our people who come from trauma, residential schools, racism, all these stuff that happen, and then to have them get the doctors prescribe them, that is so hard to get out of. And so that's some of the things that I've been always looking at and trying to see what we can do. But I know for sure that we need our elders out there, the elders who went to residential schools, who are helping our people in their community and start sharing their stories also too, like how you're doing it with the uncles. But but we need to start get the elders start sharing their stories and how they were able to navigate the Western world and to find back the way to the ceremonies, because our ceremonies is that, and you just talk to our elders, they all went through addictions and trauma, and we're going to try to figure out how we can be able to use those different stories and how we can be able to help our people out there. So with the opiates, and not just opiates, but everything else also too. So it's a big struggle. It's going to be a big struggle, and it's hard to pinpoint. Because me, I don't feel right if I talk. I'm trying to find those kind of resources and those different things, but I can't really talk about the opiates because I never experienced the opiates. Yeah. And our way is that we need to experience it. Like with the cocaine and all these different things, the alcohol and what I was going through, that I can experience, and that's what I can share. And my process is to that recovery. But for the opiates, I haven't used any of those, and it's a totally different drug that is so perplexed in what it does to our brain chemistry, and it's just something that I'm still working on trying to figure out how to do stuff like that in the community. But we need to look at some of the people who done the opiates, and then we can be able to have conversations with them, and who are off it.
My brother, he passed away from opioids, and you're right. It's a death sentence. It's because you literally, especially when you talk about fentanyl, because you have to take more to get that initial feeling that you're addicted to. Yeah. And if you take a sliver too much, you're just not going to wake up. There's no convulsing. There's no foam at the mouth. There's you just literally go to sleep and don't wake up. So it's definitely a death sentence. And, one of the things that I think is part of our healing as Indigenous people is dancing. And so I wanted to ask you, because I know this is a huge part of your life, so I just wanted to ask you, when did dancing enter your life? And also, do you find that dancing is a part of your healing journey?
Oh, yeah. So when I used to dance when I was younger, I used to use my cousin's outfit, his traditional outfit, so I used to dance with that. And I danced with that until I lost his pouch, a beaded pouch. So after that, I wasn't able to dance with his outfit no more. And so, and then I went back into about 30. I think I was about 40 years old, I think, and I went back in, and so and yes, it was like it's very like it's healing too. Like us Blackfoots, we keep our ceremony separate, but in our powwow separate. And but it's when powwows does have healing qualities, and we respect other people who have like used it as a ceremony to all the jingle and all these different things, and we when we go to different places, we respect their ways and stuff because it's their territory, and I do see it as a way of it is healing, and it's physically healing. You're getting a good workout, you're dancing, and you're listening to music, and I love loud music, and what a better place to listen to a powwow, powwow music, and you're just dancing and feeling the music, and you just get lost in it. You know, it is a blessing, and I always encourage people to go to the powwows, and hopefully that they'll start getting to the powwows and seeing that, and then eventually they'll start going to ceremonies or and seeing that other side that's beautiful. When you look outside, like our territories, wherever we come from, everything that we need right here, our lands, our sites, our historical sites, our medicines, our ceremonies, our elders, everything that we need for our people to heal is right here within our own communities, in our own reservations. Those are the ones that we need to see that, when we're growing up in the Western way and stuff like that, then they say, no, it's the reserve is dead and all this stuff. There's nothing for you, but actuality, no, there's like our places are beautiful. And then dancing is what I use dancing. How I use dancing too is that I use that as a tool to talk about reconciliation for the non-Aboriginal people. Nice. And that's another good. Yeah, so I do those things, and then I be busy with those different things in our community work and stuff like that. So yeah, and then we're just like still getting grant money to help do professional development for the people who work with Aboriginal people, and getting them out, because sometimes they get a stereotype that because the environment they're working with and the group of people they're working with, they think it's stereotyping the other people that are many of us don't drink and do drugs and like no more and but they still have that. But we need to start getting that professional development there. Say you need to come back and see this and stuff. You need to start working on yourself and understanding all these different things that are happening in our communities. That is a blessing. And dancing has been a big part of that healing and bringing those conversations also too. And yes, even though I struggle, even though I'm big,
I have the same.
You see all, yeah, you see all that. Yeah, like there's only a few of us that are big in the grass stands. No, just
We're those. Remember those thick blades of grass that you can blow in? That's what the kind of grass we are.
I have a hoop dancer's heart, but I can't find hoops as big as I need them. No, I'm just kidding.
I know that you mentioned we in a lot of your schooling, and I know that you're saying we when you talk about a lot of your dancing, and I know that your partner has been a huge part of your healing, a huge part of you going back to school. Can you talk to us a little bit about that inspiration?
Yes, a lot of times too is that she had my wife Cindy Black was very pivotal in helping me be sober and addictions free. For her to be around me when I was still had that addictive personality and the anger and all these different things that I still had within me. And for her to be around and still to this day that she was there for me, and she toughed it out and stuff, and sometimes that's what we need with relationships also too, is that we need to work on both sides and stuff, and the help that she cared for me and the love that she had for me, that she was able to be around with me until I was able to realize who I was and what I was faking, like with those anger and all these different things, and and those up and down motions and stuff that was could be straining on anybody, and cause a lot of breakups in relationships. But one of the things too is that she stayed there, and she endured it in a way that was so kind and loving that I seen that, and it took me a long time to see that, and then finally I just like, you know what, I appreciate you, I love you, and I thank you. Like, and I always say it in so many ways that she was one of the people in my life that saved my life, and my kids and my mother and my dad and all these different things that were there, and she was right there. She stood right by me. A lot of times, even though I wasn't drinking and stuff, and doing drugs, but I still would get into that, fighting, and I'm going to construct. And then it took me a long time to get away from all that way of being, and trying to. It's kind of like, I'm grateful for her, what she has done, and times it's. But we're like any other couple. We have arguments, but end of the line is that we care for each other, we love each other, and we're going to be here till the end, and we have the same goals. We want to help people in our communities. We're trying to, we just do a lot of stuff together, and we're always together, and so we always do everything together. So so those are things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes there's other relationships that make you want to keep being in addictions and all those behaviors, and we need to see that also too. Like sometimes you just have to walk away from relationships, and a lot of times our people are in those relationships because they're trying to keep together, but then the kids are at the we're harming the kids in so many ways, and if we can just try to understand these different things, there's like so much different things that are happening. So, and I can talk about how oppression holds our people in homelessness and addictions. A lot of people are in where we're from, in Lethbridge area, and other communities, a lot of them have degrees. A lot of them have like a master. Some of them have master's degrees. A lot of them are red sealed journeymans, and all these trade workers. But it's not. They're not. One thing is that even though they have all these things, is that they don't get no opportunities within in Lethbridge or surrounding areas, because of the nepotism and like the prejudice with the non-Aboriginal people. Like we need to start seeing that. We work with the universities and trying to get them to understand why our people are being held down. Now that's okay. Now we need to start looking at in the community the people who are the employers and those agencies to say, no, man, our people are out there are intelligent, they're smart, and those are things that we really need to start looking at and focusing on those different things. Start building and saying, a lot of our people are out there. You look at that, they're so smart, but yet they give up. It's hard for them to look after their families, and with no money and stuff. And now you see more and more of the women taking getting the employment and taking the role as the the main breadwinner of the house and stuff like that too. So there's a lot of different things that are out there that are it's hard to take sometimes, but it's something that we need to start understanding. That's how it is right now for a lot of us, or other people out there.
We've talked about this before, that our Indigenous women are further along in their healing journeys than a lot of our brothers are, and we've equated that. We don't know for sure, but I mean, there has been a lot of programs put forward for Indigenous women and single moms and things like that in the past, and oftentimes it feels as though Indigenous men are overlooked, like we're not valued by society, that we should be the ones that are able to heal either. And it's kind of causing that shift in my eyes anyways, where we are being devalued, and then we're not. And I'm not saying this in a way where, we're being devalued and it's taking away our manhood, but we're not seen as maybe being worthwhile to be able to be healed, right? And that may be right or wrong, but that's how I perceive it anyways, right?
Mhm.
So I think, like, from listening from your story about your healing journey, being finding a community again was a big part of that. Being accepted by people, being accepted open arms into the dancing community, and then, like you said, eventually into ceremony. It, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a huge part in you getting better. And I think we need, as a community, to come together and be able to open our arms to our people that are struggling and say, you know, we're here. It's okay to come to us if you need help, because we're here. We want you to heal, you know, like.
Yeah. So one of the things too is I found out also too, the people who are kind of done with addictions and worked on their self-awareness and narcissism, their ego, I've always known that they start sharing, because a lot of times too is that I've started telling my mom I love her, and I hug her, and you know, I'm more affectionate, even to my friends out there, the ones are struggling. You know, if haven't seen them for a long time, I'll hug them, man, and just to show, like we can start sharing those kind of different emotions, and that we can care for our people. You know, even being a man, we need to show that we are vulnerable and we are somebody that is where we need to start being like that, you know, to share those feelings. And the Western way taught us to hide that we can't cry, we can't do these, but us guys, man, I'm always saying, my friends out there, I'll tell, man, I love you, I appreciate you, and I like whatever you do. I admire what you're doing in the community, despite where you come from. Sometimes I hug them, I have a conversation with them, and just not like me trying to preach to them or anything, but just to sit there and enjoy what they're talking about, and you know, having those kind of different conversations. It's just like just those simple things, without me going in there and trying to act like a tough guy, a preacher, or you know, like, or somebody like that. You know, like, we need to get rid of all that kind of way. We are warriors. We're still warriors. You know, we never but we were never conquered by war. We were conquered by chemical warfare, with them starving our buffaloes and putting us in reserves and all these different things. You know, those are the things that we're once they start knowing our culture and our history and all the things that come, then they start learning how to you know what, it's not our fault. You know, it's you know, our people when they were young, our people before contact, they were caring, loving people out there. They would help out each other. They'll be doing these different. They worked as a community, a collective. You know, they came all these different things, and they cared, they loved, and they weren't sure. They shared their love for each other. It took a tribe to raise a child. You know, like, and you know, so those are different things that the Western perspective have put onto us, and brainwashes in so many ways to our people now who are struggling like that. You know, like, I commend everybody. You know, like, my heroes. You know, everybody has heroes out there, like those movie stars, those hockey, or you know, all these different things. My heroes are the ones who conquered their addictions, the ones who will conquer the opiates and stuff. Those are the ones I hold as my heroes. You know, and those are the ones that we need to sit down and have those conversations with. Those are the ones who got out of their position to be a place, you know. And then a lot of times too is our success. You know, my success is that as long as I have food, I have a roof over my head, I can go to a ceremony or I can go do a function, and then I have my family. That's my kind of way of being rich in a way, you know. And then you know, the Western perspective wants you to, you know, like, compete and with each other, get a big house and all these different things that come with it. But I'm not like that, and I'm trying to get it out in the community, because I have a powwow. You know, like, went over 100,000. We gathered, and you know, I don't charge to people to come to the powwow. I don't charge to dancers or singers or get registered, nothing. And what I did was over $100,000 that it went back out in the community, and it's a nonprofit organization that my society is. So I don't get paid for anything, but I just get all that and give it back out there, you know, and get all these other grants and just give it back out there, because, you know, those are the things that are showing a true warrior, and in a way that we're raising this money and building programs that we can be able to do that and give it right back. That's why I see, and then we do it once a year, so we can be able to be we can help the people that we're working with to succeed, and and to build those relationships and collaborations. Those are the different things I see as being a warrior and stuff. You know, and I'm grateful because I'm able to do that because I have like leather workshops and I do like gigs, powwow gigs, all these different things that kind of help me to to live and pay bills and stuff like that. But yeah, most of the time it's been all like uh, volunteer. Our societies that when we do stuff in the community. So
That's amazing. That's amazing work. And, I just want to say thank you, Theron, for being on the show. And, it's been a wonderful experience to have you and, to talk about these ways of healing. And I just wanted to ask you about how can we change, like I know that you grew up around Lethbridge and you've seen Lethbridge and you've seen the struggles that are there between the Indigenous and the non-Indigenous. And so I'm just wondering, what do you think we can do as a society to combat that? And then also one more thing, if you ever become in power, like say, or if one of the Blackfoot brothers and sisters ever become in power, please get rid of the name Whoop Up Drive. Please get rid of the name Whoop Up Drive, and please get rid of Whoop Up Days, because just looking at the history of what Whoop Up Juice did to the Blackfoot Nation, to not only the Blackfoot Nation but to all of our people, it's a slap in the face. It's offensive, and I hope to one day, like all laughs aside, I hope one day that to see this be abolished.
Yeah. I've been working a lot with the community of Lethbridge, also too with the city, doing some programs. So we never ever really thought of that way of the hoop up drive or whatever. So, but that would be something to look at also too. What was your question at the beginning?
I can't remember either because we all drunk.
It was how do we combat racism in Lethbridge? Yeah.
So one of the things too is that how we've been doing it is basically we need to start building those relationships and professional development. We really need to include the like a lot of times we need to include a lot of the non-Aboriginal people to our events. So I'm trying to get more of the non-Aboriginal people coming to the powwows and to the different things that we do in the community, and to understand that. One thing too is that our people have been trying to build those relationships for a number of years on the Blackfoot territory, and kind of it was a number of years ago, you didn't, like 10 plus years ago, you never seen any non-Aboriginal people there. But then our community has been like, they've been always trying to build those reconciliations, those relationships, and those understandings. But it's the non-Aboriginal people that are slow to do that. They're slowly, like now you see a lot of non-Aboriginal people at the power. I mean, at the Sundances. Oh God, the big camp. You see them there, and then they're just observing. They're helping the ceremonial people and all these different things that are happening there, and sweats also too, like all over the sweats and stuff. We've been always there at the forefront, building those relationships. It's the non-Aboriginal people that are slow to do that, and we're slowly are making a difference within Lethbridge. There's a lot of involvement and work that's been going to the professional side of it, and the outside. Not at the front lines, but like working with them. So there is a lot of work going there, and what we've been trying to do and working with them. So yeah, we need to include and always be mindful that there's a lot of non-Aboriginal people out there who are truly want to be our allies and truly want to be our friends. And they're just like us. Like they just invite us to their house. They invite us to our houses, and they come over, and despite sometimes we have to get our water trucked in, eh? We have to get our water trucked in, so whenever we get, and then but they know. I'm not shy to tell them that this is how res is sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah.
Well, one thing I remember about the beautiful area is those how to write buns.
Oh yeah, the hood right girls are asking for you. Those hood right girls are asking for you.
I didn't mean those kind of buns.
Oh, jeez. I didn't think of it that way either, but maybe you were being deadly with Federites. Just kidding. Theron, I just got one more question for you. You've been speaking about your society. Can you give us more details about that and how people can check out the work that you've been doing in the community?
Yeah, it's called the Honor and Traditions and Reconciliation Society. We have a Facebook page and we have a website also too. It's kind of just over a year we started this in the community. I have some PhDs, all masters people, masters who have their masters people. We have the city of Lethbridge Representative Les Volkman, and we have a grant writer, Nicole, who's been doing so much work. There's only a few of us, but what we've been able to do in the community, it's so astonishing. There's just a few of us, but yet we are making a big impact. And without them, every one of them is so important to our society that they've been doing so much. We all have different kind of jobs that we do, but we all come as a collective, and this is how we do that. And we'll say, okay, let's do this, let's do that, and we all come together. And if we can't do it, we'll get another group to do it. We'll split up it's just something that has been such an amazing opportunity. And when you do everything good from the heart, and you try to do everything the best you can, all these other opportunities come in, and people see in the community, and they say, I want to be a part of that. Let's collaborate. Let's do something. I said, sure, let's do it. Then, if they give us the city will give me 10,000, do a youth program. I said, okay, I'll just do it. So then I just run it and just do it. I don't think about the particulars. I just do it. The things and that's the thing we just got to do. And a lot of times I do kind of scare people, because they'll have a conversation. We'll talk, and then they say, "Oh, let's do this." I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." I already got a venue for the next time we have a conversation. The next Monday, on a Monday after, I got a venue. We can do it here. And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" So yeah, you can kind of weed out the ones that are who are doing really good in the community and who doing it, who are actually doing it. The ones that you can just weed out that are.
The ones that want to talk about doing it, and then the ones that do it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Theron, for being a guest on the Deadly Uncle podcast. It's been wonderful to have you. It's, one thing that I want to end off here is with the Blackfoot community has always been open arms to me. I've always been a guest in Treaty 7 and Treaty 6. The Blackfoot people were the first ones to teach me how to hug. And that might sound silly to the listeners, but literally I never knew how to hug. I never knew that you hug your family members when they go home, and then you hug them again when they come over, then you hug them again when they leave, then you hug them again when they come back. When I first had been involved with the Blackfoot family intimately, I thought, okay, we'll hug, and then that's good. That's how, because we never hug again in our family unless it's you're not going to see for a super long time. And then I seen that hug, but it really, it showed me the strength of your people. It showed me the strength of just those little things. So I thank you and the people for having me as a guest in this beautiful Mohkinstsis land.
Definitely, Theron. And you know what? We got to tell you, you're definitely a deadly uncle.
Deadly uncle.
Oh, hey. I think I'm a grandpa.
Well, you can be a deadly uncle grandpa.
Yeah, deadly uncle grandpa.
Thank you, Theron. We'll talk to you
Thanks,
soon,
brother.
buddy.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Hi.
You're listening to the Deadly Uncle Podcast.
A safe space for Deadly Uncle conversations. Next week on the Deadly Uncle Podcast.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and working with the young ones?
My journey started when I worked with my mother, and we went around and played music. I was her musician, but on the side I would go to juvenile facilities in the U.S. like Arizona, Scottsdale, and I would talk to the youth there, play music for them, and sometimes, I would just give the love, show, like what it is like when you think positive, because I had a rough past growing up. So growing up around here in Calgary was really hard, and now that I moved back here, I want to do what I was doing in the States, and like talking to these youth that were troubled in correctional facilities. But I want to talk to the youth here within the communities and let them know, like, hey man, like before you get to this point, where there's trouble, there's so much good that's happened, and you just got to think positive. So my goal here is to work with the youth and just inspire them through art. I make necklaces. I do crystal necklaces and everything. So I'll bring crystals to them, and just, because a lot of the youth there are kind of like into like crystals and rocks and stuff. So I'll make crystal necklaces with them and just kind of talk to them and share stories and just kind of tell them I'm here, like there's help, there's role models around that will help you get out of the struggle.